I'm Safa, registered migration agent at Aussizz Group Footscray branch. So today joining with us is Aussizz Group Footscray director and registered migration agent Simplepreet Kaur. Thank you, Simi, for joining us.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Safa. So today's session is Ask Aussizz, and this session is basically a Q&A session, question and answer session. So be ready with your questions in related to migration education, and then we'll be answering your questions. And while we are waiting for the audience, so we'll be briefly discussing about the updates which have already been announced and the future of the migration and education. So people be ready with your questions, and we'll be answering all your questions shortly.
So, Simi, let's discuss some of the new updates which we have recently received from the Department of Home Affairs. So, starting with the most important update is about the work restrictions, which has been reintroduced by the department for the student visa holders. So, earlier, student visa holders had the leverage of working full-time, and from 1st of July, they are just allowed to work for 48 hours per fortnight.
Yeah, even we have to tell the students that the working hours have been changed. So, previously, the part-time workers were allowed to work 20 hours per week, but now it is 24 hours and 48 hours per fortnight. 24 hours are weekly. And also for the aged care workers, it's a good news that the aged care workers are still allowed to work full time till December 2023. So I guess the aged care workers should enjoy this leverage till December.
Yeah, that's a very good news for the aged care workers. So the another important thing which was introduced was the reintroduction of the provisional skill assessment for the 485 graduate work stream. So the department temporarily suspended this one for the 1 year, which was until 30th of June. And now they have said that any applicant who is going ahead with the 485 graduate work stream needs to have a provisional skill assessment. So Simi, I heard that there has been a bit of difference between the previous PSA and the current one.
Yeah, so previously provisional skill assessment required to have 360 hours mainly for the trade workers, 360 hours of work experience. But now the provisional skill assessment is only about the qualification check. So if you have applied for the JR pre-step already, and you will be getting this JR pre's outcome as a PSA, and you can use the same, for applying for 485. So this update is basically for the 485 visa holders, 485 visa applicants who are going to apply for the graduate work stream. So there is another thing that people who are going to apply for graduate work stream, the qualification for them has to be the relevant qualification to the skill assessment occupation, and the occupation has to be in the short-term list. So if you have studied more than one qualification, like if somebody has studied a nested qualification, then all the qualification or the courses has to be relevant to each other in order to apply for the 485 graduate work stream. And I guess we have got few questions as well. So because it is a Q&A session, so we have to take the questions along with this, a discussion. Yeah, so Arshad's asked, what are the chances of accounting in Victoria? I guess we are expecting, good chances for accountants in this financial year, because if we see the, in the end of the this financial year, Victoria invited a couple of accountants, for 190 or 491, even with lesser points. So Arshad, there are chances, hoping for the best. And if you are working in your own field, so you might have better chances. So let's hope for the best. We are still waiting on the updates. As soon as the updates are there, we'll definitely, update on our Facebook page or all the social media platforms about Victoria State.
The next question is by Lakshman, and he has asked whether on a bridging 491 visa, can he apply for a Medicare card? So Lakshman, yes, you can. You can apply and get an interim Medicare card. You need to get in touch with Centrelink, and then you need to complete the procedure to get one.
Yeah. So the next question is from Neha. When we are expecting WA invitation round for the new financial year? Neha, we are still waiting for the updates from Western Australia. None of the invitation rounds dates have been announced yet, but hopefully there might be some of the announcements in this financial year. And let me tell you all that there was a good news coming from Western Australia, that Western Australia might be considering building and construction occupations on priority, that people who are maybe civil engineering draft persons or carpenters or painting trade workers might be getting more of the invitations in future in Western Western Australia state.
So that's a good news for the construction workers who are opting for Western Australia,
Yeah.
right? So going ahead with the next question, it is by Salman, who has done masters from Norway and with 3 years of experience and an ALS score. Salman, unfortunately, I might require some more information because you have not mentioned your specialization or your experience. So try to provide some more information so that we can help you out.
Yeah. And the next is from Parul Sood. Been waiting for 190 grant since March. Parul, you are lucky that you have got the invitation for 190. So hopefully you'll be getting it soon. So it is completely based on your occupation. Let's say if your occupation is on the critical occupation list, so you might be getting it soon, but the average processing time keeps on changing. So you might be getting in the next financial year, which is this financial year.
Okay, the next question is from Munish, who is asking, what's the scope of civil engineering compared to nursing? So obviously, seeing the last year statistic and post-COVID, there has been a lot of invitations for people working in nursing sectors, whether it's an enrolled nurse or a registered nurse. But I wouldn't discourage that. There wasn't any invitations for civil engineering persons as well. So obviously, it depends on profile and from what category you are applying, which state. So there are so many factors you need to consider.
So next question is from Mayank. Any chances for offshore mechanical engineer age 40 with 75 points in class 189, 80 points in 190 and 90 points in class 491? Mayank, definitely there are chances. I'm really not sure how did you get 75 points, but it's a good point score for an offshore applicant. So you might be considered for the states. So when there was an invitation round for 189 in December, for 189 subclass, and it was in December last year. There was 35,000 people, got the invitation, and then mechanical engineers have managed to get the invitations with the lower points. So I guess you have chances, but we are still waiting for the new updates. So hope for the best, fingers crossed, all the best to you to get the invitation.
The next question is from Parul, and she has mentioned that she's waiting for 190 visa grant, and the occupation is electronic engineer, and the state is Victoria. That's as Simplepreet has mentioned, the global processing time keeps changing. So you're fortunate enough to get an invite. So ultimately, it's going to take a bit of time, but I would recommend to go for a decision-ready file so that it's not further delaying your process.
Yes, so there is one question from Nitesha. Hi there, I'm currently on my 485 visa and I want to start this course, Advanced Diploma of IT. So completing this 1 year will give me skill assessment. So Nitesh, basically Advanced Diploma in IT is a 2 years course, and as per the Skill Assessment Authority's guidelines, this occupation requires 2 years of study after 12th grade, and the occupation in this case is going to be telecommunication technical officer or telecommunication network planner. So you are required to have 2 years of study in order to get the skill assessment from Engineers Australia.
The next question is from Prashima, and then he was asking that he's 29 years old and can he apply for a bachelor's study? I believe she's asking about the study in Australia. Mm-hmm. Then of course, yes, there is no age limit for a student visa. You can obviously apply for any course of your interest, Prashima.
Munish asks about the what about 191 visa? We were definitely about to discuss this thing. So it is basically a good news for 491 visa holders that to apply for 191 visa, you're not required to meet the income requirement anymore, which was previously $53,900 for every year. Now the department says that you are just required to provide 3 years notice of assessment, and then you can apply for the 191 visa, but you're still required to meet the rest of the requirements. The rest of the requirements are living in regional and working in regional. If you're not required to provide the income threshold, but you're still required to be working in the regional, so make sure you're meeting rest of the requirements. And most of the applicants will be eligible in this financial year, like after getting the notice of assessment for this year. So I would advise everybody to, consult with their migration agent before applying for this, 191 visa in order to avoid any mistakes in the visa application.
Yeah, that's a really good news for 191 visa applicants. Okay, so
Yeah.
the next question is from Chirag. He's asking, any chance for offshore ICT business analyst, age 24, 2 years of work experience for permanent residency, and then he has mentioned his English score as well. See, obviously we encourage clients from whoever has a valid skill assessment and the relevant points to apply in every possible category, whether it's an onshore or offshore candidate. So yes, Chirag, their possibilities are there. We encourage you to lodge your EOIs. Thank you.
Yes, so the next question is from Mayank Sharma. My skills qualify for both engineering manager and mechanical engineer both. So what is the suggestion whether to apply as engineering manager or mechanical engineer considering offshore applicants? Mayank, it is a good thing that you have multiple skill assessments. So in your case, what I can suggest that some of the states allow you to apply for the multiple expression of interest, but some of the state doesn't. So if you are applying for some state which allow you to apply for the multiple ones, better to go with the multiple, and then whichever invitation you get first, you can apply for the visa on the basis of that.
The next question is from Munish. He's asking, is any minimum experience needed to apply 189 onshore, or without experience we can apply for? Definitely there is no such requirement. If you're going for 189, there are only 4 basic things you need to keep in mind, Munish. One is the age. It should be less than 45. You need to have a valid English test and a skill assessment and minimum 65 points on the skill select.
Yeah, so the next question is from Tilak. I have applied for 491 visa. Can I apply for 190 nomination for same state? See, Tilak, until you get your 491 visa granted, you can try for 190 even for the same state. But some states do not give you the invitation if you in the same financial year for 190 and 190. So if you have got the 491 invitation in the last financial year, and if you want to try for 190 in this financial year, yes, you can try. But once your 491 visa is granted, unfortunately, you will not be able to apply for a 190 visa anymore, if in case, even if you get the invitation or approved for 190.
The next question is from Asad. He's saying he has 8 years of experience in engineering, bachelor's completed in 2012, master's from UK. Is he eligible for a PR in Australia? Age is 32 and he's married. Yes, Asad, why not? You need to have a valid skill assessment. That's one of the basic things we always recommend clients to start with. And when you have enough points on the skill select, you can apply for any permanent residency pathway if you meet all the eligibility requirements.
So we are still waiting for more questions. I recommend everybody to share this live sessions link with your friends so that your friends can get a benefit out of this. And then in the meantime, we can discuss about more of the updates. So I would like to tell you all that there was an update from the department for the employer-sponsored visas that there would be an increase in the income threshold. So previously that was $53,900, and now after 1st of July, an employer is required to pay the employer $70,000 per year, excluding the superannuation to sponsor somebody. Yeah, so there was another update that 482 visa holders can apply for 186 even if the occupation is on the short-term list, and which is going to lead to permanent residency.
And special pathway for the aged care workers as well. Right?
Yeah, so it is going to be the same actually for the aged care workers. So we get many calls from the applicants who are working in aged care, and they ask the same question, that these people are thinking that if the department has announced the PR pathway, they'll just apply and they'll get it. But let me clarify it to you that it is an employer-sponsored visa. The employer has to sponsor you. You are required to have minimum 2 years of work experience in order to apply for 482 visa, and then you'll be applying for the 186 visa. So if you have a formal qualification, that should be fine. You'll be fine with the 2 years of work experience, but otherwise you are required to have 1 year of work experience in order to substitute your formal qualification. And the eligible occupations are going to be nursing support worker, PCAs, aged or disabled care workers, but you're still required to have your employers, consent to sponsor you. Have you got some questions?
Yeah, we have got some questions. Yeah. So the last one is from
Barkha.
Yeah, we can take that inquiry. I have a query in regards to traveling overseas when on 190 bridging visa A, which is not active. Do I need to apply for a bridging visa B to travel outside for 3 weeks? Only even though my bridging visa A is still not active. Now, there are two situations in this one, because when you're saying your bridging visa A is not active, means that you are holding a substantive visa. So if you are traveling within the period while you're holding that substantive visa, I don't think you need a bridging visa B for that one. But yes, if you're traveling between the dates where your substantive visa will expire while you are overseas, or you're traveling after your bridging visa A gets active, then you need a bridging visa B to return back to Australia.
Yeah, so Teddy asks, does EOI accept PTE score? Yes, you can use your PTE score in order to lodge your expression of interest. It is valid for 3 years for the immigration purpose. And if you have 50 each, it doesn't give you any points. If you have 65 each, it gives you 10 points. And if you have 79 each, you will be able to claim 20 points for your occupation.
The next question is from Mayank. He's asking for the skill assessment for engineers from Engineers Australia. And he's asking they require an income tax return documents as secondary document. To produce my experience documents of 15 plus year, what's the availability of last 10 years? I believe you're trying to ask that if you do not have documents suffixing all 15 years of experience, you can provide some other documents. You need to see the Engineers Australia guidelines for this one, Mayank. So they have specifically mentioned what documents are needed and you need to comply with that. Thank you.
Yep, so we are still waiting for more questions. So we can discuss the 485 extension as of now, so which is a good thing for people who have got their previous 485 visa time wasted during the COVID situation. So it is basically a 2 years of extension, and when you're applying for the 485 visa extension, if you're already holding a 485 visa and which is about to expire, you can apply for this. You'll get 2 years of extension. But people who have got their visa expiring in like 2025 or 2026, so they can apply as well, but then they will get the time period, extension time period added on to your TR application. But still we are waiting for the grants. We have applied for the couple of applications. It is because it is a new visa, so we are just trying to understand that whether the department, how the department would add on to the previous TR, the new TR extension to the previous TR visa.
That's true, but Simi, there are so many inquiries which are coming in which people are confused between which visas we need to apply, whether it's a 408 is better than 485. So many people, they are not aware about the one of the condition of a 408 visa is your visa should be expiring in the next 90 days. So you won't be able to apply anywhere in any time of the year. You just need to make sure that your visa is expiring in the next 90 days to apply that.
Yeah, so there is one question from Maninder. Can I apply for 408 COVID visa while working as an Uber driver? Yes, Maninder, you can apply for that. Basically, for as of now, for 408 visa, you are required to be employed. Even if you're driving Uber, you're just required to provide the evidence for the employment, and then on the basis of that, you can apply for it. So if you are so basically you are required to provide the employment evidence, like the I'm not sure how do you get the Uber invoices or something like that. You are required to provide the evidence, and then you can apply for the visa on the basis of that.
The next question is by Sumit. He's asking any updates on management accountant. Not heard about this in this regard. So Sumit, that's a very generic question. If you're asking about the rounds for the states, so right now almost all the states are closed at the moment. So definitely there are no invites for the management accountant. So we are hoping that the states will open in the next couple of months.
So Teddy is asking PSW, post-study workstream 485 extension on list of eligible qualifications. First 485 granted Feb 2023 to Feb 2025. Is it eligible for other 2 years of extension? Teddy, if your occupation is on the eligible list of the occupations, yes, you can apply for the extension. But as of now, I would still suggest you to, wait for some time. Why? Because we have applied for a couple of applications, and we just want to see that how the department is adding on to the duration of the previous 485 visa. But then anyway, if your course is there on the list, you can apply for the extension.
So while we received some more
Mhm.
questions, some more updates, one of the update was obviously an increase in the visa fee from 1st of July. There has been an increase in the visa fees, and a little bit update on the states as well. So for Victoria, as many people are aware, it's closed last year on 5th of May, and we didn't have any sort of an update when the state is going to open. So how about the other states, Simi? How about NSW and other states?
See, as of now, none of the states are operating actively, though we have got an update from Tasmania that Tasmania is still taking 491 applications. So people who are already in Tasmania and are eligible for the expression of interest and registration of interest, they can still apply and they might get the invitation in the next financial year. But then we are waiting for the updates from most of the states about the new requirements, and then we'll be updating our audience or the clients about the updates for the next financial year. The next question is from Pramosha. I have 3 years of work experience in hotel field and diploma in hospitality management in Singapore. Can I apply a work visa for hotel field? So it is a very general question. We definitely would require more details. So yes, there are occupations like related to this industry, like hotel or motel manager. So when you apply for an employer sponsored visa, you are required to have minimum 2 years of work experience in that particular field. And then you are required to have an employer to sponsor you for that. And then if the employer is happy to sponsor you for 482, and then ultimately it can lead to 186 visa as well, as per the new requirements. So Pramosha, I would suggest you to contact me like directly in order to have a proper face-to-face consultation or a telephonic consultation, because I would definitely need to know your details in detail.
The next question is from Bhanu. Hi, could you please share any recent 190 grants for civil engineers? And for our clients, Bhanu, we are getting few of the invites for the people who has already lodged last year. But yes, it's a bit slow at the moment. So you can just check the global processing time.
It keeps on changing anyway. We recently have got 190 grant today for a software engineer, but then we are still waiting for most of the applicants. There were 35,000 people who have received the invitation for 189 in December, and those all people are still waiting for the visa grants. But one of my lucky clients was there, and the occupation was accountant, and that lady, she managed to get the visa in 1 month. We applied the visa in December, and luckily she got the visa in January, but rest of the applicants are still waiting. So we are wishing all the very best to these applicants, and hopefully they'll be getting their visas soon. Okay, what are the chances? Sorry, I lost the question. Okay, what are the chances of getting 190 in Victoria for EN with 65 points? Will EN be considered for fast track processing in new financial year? Amila, basically in the last financial year, all the ENs have got the invitations under fast track with 65 points, but literally not sure as of now, but hoping the same in this financial year as well, because due to the COVID situation, of course, the nurses are always in demand. So hoping for the same thing, but still I would suggest you to keep on working your points. And then as soon as the Victoria updates are there, we'll definitely update you about that.
The next question is from Bikash. Can we apply for Medicare while waiting for 190 visa? Yes, Bikash, you can check with the central link for the interim Medicare. And if you're eligible, you would be able to get one.
Teddy, is 191 required TSM and income? We have just discussed, Teddy, that 191 visa doesn't require any income threshold from now onwards. You are just required to provide the notice of assessment for 3 years, and then you are required to meet rest of the requirements like living in regional for 3 years, and then working in the regional area only, and then you'll be applying for 191 based on these sort of documentation. But there is another thing I would like to tell you, that let's say if you apply for 191 visa, after applying 191, you cannot move to any, metro areas. It is always because you'll anyway be on 491. So you are required to comply with the 491 visa conditions till you get your 191, which means you still have to live in the regional and work in the regional until you get your 191 visa granted.
The next question is from Sunil. I am a graduate accountant currently residing in South Australia, working in aged care. What is the criteria for accounting in South Australia? Now, this is quite generic, Sunil. You need to be specific about which pathway you are looking for, because each pathway under South Australia has its own requirement. If you see 190491. Similarly, South Australia has given a recent update where they have stopped inviting, although the people who have submitted the nominations are still being considered, but they would be giving out the invitation in the next financial year.
Yes, and mostly South Australia invitations are based on the employment or the graduate, stream. So if you have studied in South Australia, you might not require to have any work experience in the same field. But if you have moved from some other state to South Australia, you might require to have maybe 6 months, 12 months of work experience as an accountant, and then you might be eligible to apply. And there was another category for South Australia, that if you're living in outer regional area, if you're working over there in any field for 6 months, and then you were able to apply for the 491. But let's wait for the next financial year, the new financial year requirements, and hoping to have the same requirements, because through this outer regional pathway, many people managed to get the 491 visa. Okay, so Burak asks, how many years is EOI valid for 189? Do we need to submit a new EOI in each financial year for 189? Burak, an EOI is valid for 2 years. You are not required to lodge a 189 EOI every financial year. But then let's say if your EOI has already expired, then of course you need to lodge a new one for 189.
The next question is from Muhammad Faizan. I've completed 1 year of advanced diploma, 3 years of bachelor's. Can I do graduate diploma of early childhood? And is it easy to get a permanent residency? And how many points should I have? Now, there are 3 things which you have asked, honestly, Muhammad. Then see, there is nothing which is stopping you to get an enrollment and study the early childhood graduate diploma. But yes, from the PR perspective, you need to have a skill assessment, and only 2 occupations are valid, which is a childcare center team leader and a childcare center manager. So if you manage to get a job into that particular field and you are able to get a skill assessment, then yes, you need minimum 65 points on a skill select to apply for any of the PR pathways.
Yep. And the next question is from Maninder. What are my chances for motor mechanic with 70 points for 189 and 75 points for 190? Which state will be good to move currently in Victoria? Maninder, 189, we have to see the trend for this financial year. So hopefully the more of the trade workers are invited in this financial year. And 190, if you have 75 points for 190, it depends on which state you are in. So unfortunately, Victoria did not invite any of the trade workers in this financial year, hoping that Victoria invites more of the trade workers, so that people don't move to other states. But let's say if we are talking about other states like Western Australia, South Australia. So South Australia is a promising state for trade workers. So many of my applicants, many of my clients have managed to get the, invitations from South Australia as motor mechanic. Okay, Sunil Shah. I had studied in South Australia. Sunil, I am not sure if you have asked a question previously, or if you want to ask a question, please send your question in detail. Yeah, so in the meantime, I would like to tell you about an app which we have, 𝐜𝐴𝐺𝐿. So we will share the link in the description once this live session is over. So this app is very helpful to all the students. Like this app basically, gives the information about the occupations. You type the keyword of the occupation and you get the information about the list of the duties, the skill assessment authority, the skill assessment process, and the points, you are required to have, and a points calculator it will link to. So I would definitely recommend you to use this app in order to get a basic idea about the occupation, what are the duties you're required to perform. And then, if you figure out, first of all, you'll have to recognize the occupation, and then you can get back to us to know the further details of the PR process.
To add some more information on a 485 extension, so many people, they are asking whether there is a fee associated with that. So there is no WAC payment. The department has kept the submissions completely free of cost. And the other questions we are often getting for a 485 extension is like, what if their occupation or their study is not listed over there? So they are not eligible for a 485 extension. So what options they have? So these people who are not eligible for a 485 extension can apply for a 408 COVID visa, which could be granted up to 2 years. So any people whose visa is expiring, not eligible, do not panic. You still have an option for a 408 visa.
Yeah, and apart from 408 visa, of course, student is one of the pathway to extend your stay. But then I would like to tell you that if you are applying for the student visa, you'll have to comply with the visa conditions. You'll have to study, you'll have to maintain the attendance, you'll have to submit the proper assessments in order to have your student visa extended. And moreover, there is another visa which is called training visa. If you have work experience in your field and if your employer is happy to sponsor you, you can also extend your stay or your visa by going on the training visa as well.
The next question is by Teddy, completed Bachelor's of Computer Science, major in software development, and currently doing PY. Which occupation needs to apply for ACS skill assessment? As you have mentioned, Teddy, that your specialization is under software development, and if the major of the subjects has been done related to that, then the occupations could be software engineer. But alternatively, you can also check the other occupations such as a developer programmer, and you can get an assessment in either one of them or both of them.
Yeah, so here I would like to add on to this, answer that as per the Department of Home Affairs, software engineer, developer programmer, and analyst programmer are under the same unit group, and these occupations have exactly the same duties. So when we are talking about the employment, it is very important for all the applicants to, refer to the ANSCO duties. If you're performing, 70 to 80% of those duties only, then you'll be able to get the positive skill assessment for the employment, though it is not mandatory to get the positives, the skill assessment for the employment, but it is still recommended that if the ACS approves your, employment, it will be better for your peace of mind, in order to claim the points. And moreover, you're required to have 2 types of payment evidence when you're claiming the points for the employment. You are required to justify your employment claims with the work reference letter, payslips, bank statement, and even if you have super and tax documents, that would, add on to your profile. The case officer, it will be easy for the case officer to assess your profile.
Yeah, thank you for that, Timmy. These days, in fact, we are receiving a lot of people who are having complaints that they have a negative outcome from ACS. So I've seen a lot of people, they don't comply with the guidelines of the ACS. They don't go through it and they go submit the applications leading to a refusal. So it's highly important that any applicants who are trying to do it on their own, they stick to the guidelines, or they can obviously approach a registered migration agent for any sort of a guidance.
Yeah, sure. Vinod Chaudhary, I asking a general question: what is the scope of IT jobs in regional areas versus main cities? Kindly suggest. See, Vinod, it is there are IT companies in the regional areas as well. I have many clients who are living in regional and working in the IT companies. So it is, completely based on which regional area you're talking about. So I guess there are job opportunities in the regional area. Okay. Sunil Shah said, I had studied in accounting in South Australia. Should I have to move out to regional for PR pathway or just wait for the new requirements? Sunil, I would request you to, or I would recommend you to wait for the new financial year requirements and then take a decision. And maybe in the meantime, you can work on the skill assessment. So accounting skill assessment would require you to have 7 each. If you're a graduate of Australia, if you have already studied the 7 subjects which are required by the skill assessment authority. So if you already have studied those subjects, if you have 7 each, you can apply for the skill assessment, and in the meantime you can work on your points. You can take PT, NATI, and then as soon as the requirements are there, then you can take your decision.
The next question is by Harry. I have completed bachelor's degree. What is the criteria to get a PR through early childhood? As I've mentioned previously, you need a valid skill assessment, and there are only two roles from which you can get a valid skill assessment. One, either by working as a childcare center team leader, the other one by working as a childcare center manager. So technically, you need to be working for a minimum 1 year after your qualifications so that you can apply for the skill assessment from ACE-CQA. Once you get a positive outcome, then you can lodge your EOIs.
Any update for 491 invitation round in Victoria new financial year? Zalak, as of now, there is not any update from Victoria. Even we are waiting for Victoria to announce the new requirements. We are hoping that Victoria keeps the same requirements like Victoria had previously. Victoria made it very lenient in the last financial year, by selecting the people who were working in the irrelevant fields as well. And Victoria changed the requirement for 491 applicants, especially by, allowing them to live in anywhere and applying for 491. So we are hoping the same, and Victoria had got the, maximum quota for the last financial year. So hoping for the same in this financial year. So wish you all the best.
So while we are getting more questions, so let's focus a little bit on the people who have got their TRA skill assessments expired. We are getting a lot of inquiries who has not got an invitation, their job ready program has expired. They are really looking for the renewal of this one or getting a full skill assessment again. And then many people, they are approaching us with the VETASys, but the VETASys is having a lot of processing time at this point. So they are taking on an average 4 to 6 months, and even the priority processing, fast track processing, it's very limited. They are just giving 25 something around that one. So it's very difficult and competitive to even apply under fast track or priority processing. So we are recommending clients to go for other RTOs who can process and provide the same outcome in a lesser period of time. So if you really want to know more about which RTOs are suitable for you, you can contact us and we can guide you through about how to get a full skill assessment again, and then you can apply for your permanent residency pathways.
Yep. So there is a question from Manish. My daughter has done certificate 3 in aged care last year, July, but now she is second year nursing student at Western Sydney University. She has now 1 year experience in aged care, can apply for PR. So Manish, as I explained previously, that the aged care workers who are having minimum 2 years of work experience along with this certificate 3 in aged care qualification can be eligible for the employer sponsored visa. The PR pathway is basically through the employer sponsored visa. So if your daughter has 2 years of work experience and if the employer she's working with is ready to sponsor, then she can definitely explore this option, and this may lead to permanent residency in future. Yep. So I get many questions for this, trade occupations, like when people are doing job ready program, whether they have to do it on TFN or ABN. So just wanted to let you know, guys, that even if you're working on ABN, your work experience is still, accepted. But when you're working on ABN, it is very important for you to take care of few things, that when you work on ABN, you send your invoice to your employer, right? You don't get the payslip. So it is important for you to, have the consistency. Like, let's say if your employer is paying you after 15 days, then you must be getting, pay in your account after every 15 days. So like, it's important to maintain the consistency. Your bank statement has to be consistent with your with the invoice. So that it is easy for the TRA authority and the Department of Home Affairs, when you claim the points, to check your work experience. And again, we recently got a case for ACS. It is about the work experience that one of the applicants get the refusal, ACS refusal. Why? Because his bank statement got the salary transactions by the individual's name. Like, he was employed in an organization, but the organization did not pay from the organization's bank account, but he was receiving the payments from the individual account, and those transactions did not have particular description of wages or salary. So it is very important for every everyone, to keep an eye on these things as well, that when you are employed with your employer or employed with somebody gaining work experience, so it is important to check such kind of things as well when claiming point, because the department department puts a lots of attention on this thing when you're claiming the points, that whether you have been paid by an individual or by an organization.
That's completely true, Simi. It's not only ACS, I've also noticed with the other skill assessment authorities as well. For example, VETSS, if you see their guidelines, even they have the same requirement that they look for the description where if an employer is making a payment towards the salaries, then they need to mention their name or an employment ID, which complies with the guidelines. So the applicants needs to be really, really careful when they are applying for any skill assessment, because basically skill assessment is one of the basic first step for any permanent residency pathway. Many people who don't get a positive skill assessment, they mimic their chances and opportunities for a permanent residency option. So it's very critical.
Yeah, as Safa told, that when you apply for the permanent residency, when you start the process for the skilled migration, the first step is to recognize your occupation. Then you apply for the skill assessment. Once the skill assessment outcome is there, then you apply for the expression of interest. For the expression of interest, you have to meet the minimum points criteria, which is 65 as of now. No new updates have been received about this yet. So as of now, it is 65. So your age, I'm talking about the factors which are going to contribute to your points: your age, study, NATI, PT, professional year. If you're single or married, you get to contribute with all these points. And then you are required to have minimum 65 points in order to lodge the expression of interest. You lodge it for 189, 190, or maybe for 491. When you apply for 190 or for 491, it is very important for you to meet the state requirements as well, because a state would only invite you when you're meeting the state's criteria. And then once you get the invitation from the state, only then you'll be eligible to apply for the visa. So these are the things on which you have to work on for while going for the skilled migration.
Now, only has said that I have lodged a subclass 836 visa. How do I know if I've been assigned a case officer? So mostly these visas are paper-based applications. So it is very difficult to tell whether a case officer is allocated or not. So basically, whenever a case officer is allocated, they are going through your file or application. If there is anything pending or needed, they would get back to you with the request. You'll usually get an email and you will have sufficient time to provide or answer to that request. If there is a grant or an outcome, again, you would be receiving it through an email. So unfortunately cannot comment when the case officer would be allocated.
Yeah, in some of the visas, people get the notification via email about the IMI commencement, but for some visas we don't. So it is just, up to the department to let you know. And then maybe we can discuss the courses which do not require the work experience in order to get the skill assessment. So we have two courses, like one of them is Advanced Diploma in Civil Construction Design, and the other one is Advanced Diploma in IT, which is majoring in telecommunications. So these diplomas, Skill Assessment Authorities Engineers Australia, and if you study these two diplomas, these occupations are on the medium and long-term list, but then you are not required to have any work experience in order to get the skill assessment in these occupations. If the occupations are on medium and long-term list, which means these occupations are in high demand. And since Western Australia and the other states announced that the construction occupations are going to be in more demand, so maybe civil engineering draft persons will get more chance, to get the invitation. Yeah. A few questions. Do I need to continue private health insurance for 485 after I got my interim Medicare card? Still waiting for 190 visa grant, currently 485 active and 190 bridging visa inactive. Akriti, definitely you're required to hold the OVHC, Overseas Visitor Health Cover, for 485 visa, because as of now you are on a bridging visa which is associated to the 190, but your substantive visa is the 485 visa, so which means you're still required to comply with the visa conditions of 485, and 485 visa's condition is to have a health insurance. So you will have to hold your OVHC until your 190 is granted.
The next question is again from Only. Also, I'm on a subclass 408 visa, but I have applied for a career visa. Can I cancel my current insurance on my 408 since I got Medicare? As Simi has just answered the question, as long as you are holding any kind of visa, whether it's 408 or any other visa, you must comply with that visa conditions. So if your visa conditions says you need to maintain an insurance, then you have to do it only.
Yeah. So next question is from Dawn. Has no experience but completed Bachelor's of Computer Science majoring in software development, currently doing PY. Which one of the better occupations to apply for ACS skill assessment? So Dawn, your qualification, if has a majors in software development, you can go as a software engineer, developer programmer, or an analyst programmer. But if you have studied a bachelor's, you might have studied, you know, other subjects like a business analyst subjects or system analyst. So if you have studied the other subjects as well, you can try, you know, this getting the skill assessment in multiple occupations, but of course it is majoring in software development, so you can go as a software engineer, and that occupation is always in high demand in Australia and very popular to get the invitation.
The next question is Mr. Motivator. Hello, ma'am. I just wanted to know where we can find out the guidelines or criteria for skill assessment for Engineers Australia. You can visit the Engineers Australia website. All the details in regards to the visa, the fee pricing, the procedure, the guidelines, it's available over there, and you can download the PDF and you can just refer to the guidelines.
Yeah, so it is basically called MSA booklet. So you can download from Engineers Australia's website, and you can check whatever you know, details you need, and in case if you cannot find it, then you can contact us or the nearest Aussizz Group's branch. Yeah. So what is the processing time for 186? See, it keeps on changing. So sometimes some of our clients have managed to get this visa in 3-4 months, and sometimes, you know, it takes very long. So please check the global processing time, but it keeps on changing every time. Okay, so we have tried to answer all the questions. So if anybody has any more questions, please leave in the comment section, and then we'll try to get back to you for one-on-one discussion. And anyway, if you have any further, you know, questions in related to migration or education, you can call us or you can visit the nearest Aussizz branch, and we'll definitely help you with your queries and with the visa processes. Thank you.
Thank you.